Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us. I have with me Brother Anwar Yusuf Turani. He is an Uyghur Muslim. Did I pronounce that right? Uyghur?
What did you say?
Uyghur?
Uyghur.
Uyghur, okay.
Uyghur.
Uyghur, okay.
Yeah, Uyghur Muslim, yes.
He was raised in a labor camp where he faced economic hardship and political oppression. Turani attended the Kashgar Teachers College and graduated from the Department of Physics in July of 1983. He came to the U.S. on August 12, 1988, and became the first political asylee from that region. In 1995, he established the East Turkistan National Freedom Center, a nonprofit human rights organization based in Washington, D.C. So we're very, very glad to have him. He's going to talk to us about what the Chinese government is doing to his people. And he'll tell us more about his work and what he's been doing, and also the history. So we're very glad to have him here with our monthly webinar series here. He was, as we all know, what's happening with all the news that's coming out, what's happening with the Muslim minorities in that region, and how the Chinese government is persecuting them and treating them in a very harsh and blatant manner. Blatantly evil manner. And so we wanted to invite someone from that community to come and talk about it, to give us more details and give us inside stories that we may not hear about. Just recently, we just heard about the organ harvesting program that the Chinese government is doing. So apparently, they're actually, from the news article, it is said that basically the Chinese government is rounding up these people and taking them to these camps and finding out if they have families overseas or not. If they do not, then they kill them and they take their organs and they sell them in the market. And if they do have families overseas, then they leave them alone because they don't want to get pressure from international countries. So that's something really sad.
Especially as labeling the organs as a halal organ.
Right. They're labeling them as halal organs.
These days, yeah.
Oh wow, that's ridiculous. So it's terrible, and unfortunately we feel powerless. But we need to become more aware of these issues. So we have Mr. Turani, Mr. Anwar Yusuf Turani here. So he's going to light us in. So Mr. Turani, so tell me first about a little bit of a history about the region and how your people came there and where they're originally from, and how it came to be as it is now. If you can tell us.
Sure. First of all, I just want to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and to all of the audience, all of the international communities. On behalf of the 40 million East Turkestani people who are under the rule of communist China, ever since the region, East Turkestan was occupied by communist China in 1949.
Right.
So I am just one of the members of the East Turkestani community who is lucky enough to be here. And thank you very much for your invitation to speak on the behalf of my voiceless, oppressed people of East Turkestan.
Right.
And I just want to start my talking by just introducing the name of the region, not only introducing the name, but introducing the brief history of the region. The region is called East Turkestan. Whenever we call somewhere, any place like East or West or Eastern or Western, Southwest or whatever it is, we refer that region based on something, a point of reference, right? If there is a East Turkestan, there must be what? West Turkestan or North Turkestan or South Turkestan. Located at the center of Central Asia, East Turkestan is a part of the great Turkestan region. The Turkestan region is located in Central Asia, and it stretches from China's Great Wall. You know China's Great Wall,
Right.
the famous Great Wall.
Yes.
You know how the heroic people
Right.
of China made such a low, humongous
Right.
Great Wall. I mean, in the history.
Yes.
So it starts that the Turkestan eastern border starts from the China's Great Wall, and it stretches all the way back to the Caspian Sea, thousands of kilometers.
Right.
And it stretches from Siberia
Right.
to the north to the Kunlun Mountains, Karakorum Mountains,
Right.
to the south, or Tibet, India, and Kashmir, and Pakistan,
Right.
and Afghanistan to the south.
Okay.
This vast region has been called Turkestan.
So all this region historically has
They
been
called
called
as
Turkestan.
Turkestan.
Okay.
Turkestan means
Right.
the land of the Turks.
The land of the Turks.
Yeah,
Okay.
Turkestan, the term itself in Farsi. Farsi, it means the land of Turks.
Okay.
And East Turkestan is just part, as one part of Turkestan,
Right.
or eastern part of the great Turkestan region.
Right.
And we call it, the native people of East Turkestan, call it Sharqi Turkestan. Sharqi Turkestan, it sounds familiar to you. Sharqi,
Yeah.
it's Arabic,
Eastern,
right?
Right. Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. Sharqi Turkestan.
Right.
Okay, it means the land of Eastern Turks.
Yes.
Eastern Turk.
Right.
And then the question arises, who are the people of Turkestan
Right.
in general? The
Right.
people of Turkestan, of course, as the name refers,
Right.
the Turkic people.
Right.
Turkic people known as a Turkic people in the known history, for thousands of years. There's a Turkic people.
Yeah.
And the people of East Turkestan is part of those Turkic people. Who are they? They are Uyghurs like me. Okay? Uyghurs, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Uzbek, Tatars, Azaris, Turkmens, and the Tajiks,
Right.
and the Mongols, even though they don't belong to the Turkic people, that the Mongols are like Mongol.
Right.
Okay? Tajiks are Tajik. They speak Farsi. Mongol people speak Mongolian. But they are part of the people of East Turkestan or East Turkestan.
Okay. Okay.
And we, the people of, East Turkestan, for example, mainly consist of Uyghur people.
Can you briefly define that term? Where does that term come from?
Uyghur means unity.
Okay.
The unity in Turkic languages. Uyghur means just unity. Uyghur is just one tribe of the one of the tribes of the Turkic people.
Okay.
And Uyghurs are the most ancient, most civilized tribes of the entire Turkic people.
Okay.
This is the history of the Uyghur people. Nobody can but deny that. At least Uyghur people are one of the most civilized, if not the most civilized.
Right. Right.
In terms of how much they contribute
Right.
to the civilization of that region, Central Asia, to the civilization of the Turkic people,
Right. Right.
to the civilization, to the international community, or to the world. The Uyghur people are played very important role.
Right.
The Uyghur people left such an untraceable, unerasable
Right.
contribution, glorious contribution.
Okay.
For example, Uyghur people played such a big role in the history of Silk Road. The Silk Road
Yes,
also stretched from China
Right.
and just I mean, starts from China, I mean, and it stretches all of the directions.
Right.
You know, like from Central Asia to Europe, and then that Anatolia, Iran,
Yes.
you know, Iran, Iraq, you know, all over the place.
Right.
And not only the people of East Turkestan,
right,
or the Uyghur people played such an important role in the Silk Road in terms of trading, but also it played such an important role in terms of protecting the
protecting the
safety.
Silk Road. Okay.
Safety.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Protecting the safety of the Silk Road. This is the history. So I am one of the members of those Uyghurs.
That tribe, basically.
Exactly, that tribe. Uyghur tribe. Uyghur Turkic tribe.
Okay.
So if I identify myself with just one word or just one sentence, we are, the Uyghur people are, and we are Turk by race and Muslim by religion.
Okay.
So, but we are just one of the Turkic tribe, the most dominant Turkic tribe in East Turkestan.
Okay.
Almost like 75% of the native people of East Turkestan are Uyghurs.
Okay.
Rest of the native peoples are Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and Mongols, and the Tajiks.
Okay.
Also, we have Uzbek and the Tatars as well in our you know, homeland.
Okay, in that area where China is ruling
region.
now. Okay.
All together, we estimate the current population of East Turkestan or Sharqi Turkestan is over 40 million. 40 million.
Okay.
Contradictory to the Chinese claim that just 10 or 12 million. China has been playing this game with us, with the international community, with the intention of minimizing the size of the Turkestani people, so that we soon or later we don't exist. I mean, they are done. We have been assimilated. That's there. And the Chinese people is evil intention.
The Chinese government.
Chinese government's evil intention. Evil intention is to assimilate us.
Okay.
That's why they're trying to expedite their campaign of, you know, just assimilation in these days.
Okay. So I guess that brings me to the next question, which is on everyone's mind. Okay. So why is your community, the Uyghur community in particular being targeted? There are a lot of other Chinese Muslims and the rest of China, they're not being targeted like this. So why your community is being targeted? So that's the big question.
Excellent question. Not only the Uyghur people, the Uyghur Muslim Turks are targeted in our country, East Turkestan, but also Kazakh Turk Muslim after Uyghurs also are the target. Are also the target for this types of, you know, inhumane persecution. Besides that, also the other Turkic tribes, other native Turkic tribes of people of East Turkestan, like Kyrgyz, also the target.
Does it matter if they're Muslim or not, or no?
It does matter for them. But the degree of the persecution, the punishment depends on the of course the identity. If somebody claim himself or herself, I am Alhamdulillah Muslim. I am proud of to be a Turk. I am proud of to be Uyghur. I am proud of to be Kazakh. I am proud of to be Uzbek. I am proud of to be Kyrgyz. You know, I am the owner of this land. Then he is fake.
He's what?
I mean that. And then in this case, then you know, because he claimed himself as a, you know, like a Muslim, as a Muslim, and also the Turk. Okay, and he is subject is subject to get the heaviest punishment, the cruelest punishment.
Okay.
Okay, even the saying the real and authentic historical name,
right,
like Sharqi Turkestan,
right,
is prohibited for a long time.
It's prohibited to say that.
Saying that,
right.
You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
You don't have to take any action.
Right. Just even saying it is punishable. Right.
Even just simply saying the name of our homeland,
right,
the real name, like East Turkistan, in English, or Sharqi Turkestan in our language, is prohibited.
It's prohibited.
And if somebody says that, it's in the past, that person is punished or persecuted or sentenced to lifetime imprisonment, if not
just for uttering this name.
Just uttering the name.
Interesting.
Just quoting the name.
Right.
But in these days, anybody says this name, the punishment is just automatic, immediate execution.
Immediate execution. So
exactly.
Just for our viewers, he's basically saying that the original name is East Turkestan,
or Sharqi Turkestan in our language,
of the region which now China controls. And now the Chinese government is become so oppressive that you're not even allowed to say the name. So they're not allowed to use the original name of their homeland publicly. And he said it used to be life in imprisonment. Now it's immediate execution because they've gotten harsher over the years. So that's ridiculous. So
then question arises.
Right.
If the Chinese government doesn't allow us to use the real and authentic name,
right,
which has been used by our ancestors for centuries, then what the Chinese government want us to use, what the Chinese government want the international community to use then?
Right.
Answer is they want us to accept the name given by the Chinese government. I mean, Chinese people, for example. What is the name? It's called, even I don't want to just to say the name. We hate that name so much. It is nonsense. It's totally unacceptable for us.
Right.
That even we don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk about such a, horrible things, right?
Right, right.
Which makes you uncomfortable, right? We try to avoid to talking about, even the remembering any types of, horrible things, right? This is one of the terms for us. Just the name given by the Chinese. But I have to say that to the audience that at least they have to know that.
Right, exactly.
It's called Xinjiang. Xinjiang in Chinese.
Okay.
Xinjiang.
Okay. What does that mean?
Xinjiang is pronounced as Xinjiang sometimes, or Xinjiang. It means new territory or new land.
That's what they want your region to be called.
Exactly. Okay. It is the two character of letter in Chinese. Xin means new.
Okay.
Jiang is territory or dominion.
Okay.
So new dominion. That name was given to us about in 1884. 1884.
By the Chinese government.
But actually not the Chinese government. During that time, the East Turkestan was under the rule of Manchu Empire.
Okay.
It was towards the end of the Manchu Empire. Okay. 1984 as almost the end of Manchu Empire, which lasts about couple centuries.
Right.
Okay. This was about the end of the Manchu Empire.
Okay.
That name was given by one of the Chinese general, who is ruling that land on the behalf of Manchu Empire. Okay, the Manchu, even though the Manchus are the one that who were ruling that whole, not only the East Turkestan, but also the whole China at that time, and they've been using the people. They're allowing the Chinese people also, just take the higher position.
Right.
So in that case, that the territory, our region at that time was invaded and ruled by military power.
Okay.
Under the leadership of Zhou Zongtang,
Right.
like Chinese commander.
Okay.
But he worked for the Manchu Empire. Then what happened after that then? Manchu Empire collapsed.
Right.
In 1912. When the Manchu Empire collapsed, then the Republic of China was established.
Right.
Under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen. Under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen, the Chinese leader, the Republic of China was established in 1912.
Right.
Okay, about like more than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Then the East Turkestan was trying to get
independence.
The independence.
Okay. From them. Okay.
From China.
Right.
Claiming that, look, we used to face the fate.
Right.
Okay. You are under the Chinese, the rule, and we are under Chinese rule. There's nothing we can do. We can do about that. We tried our best to free ourselves from the Manchu Empire.
Right.
But there's nothing we can do about that. We tried, but it didn't happen.
Right.
But the Manchu Empire just right now collapsed.
Right.
Like the collapse of Soviet Union.
Right.
Like the collapse of any empire in the history. And we told them, we told the leaders of the Republic of China, like Sun Yat-sen.
In 1912.
1912.
Right.
1912.
Right.
Our ancestors, our leaders, leaders of East Turkestan told them, it's good to see you to gain your independence.
Right.
That is the first time for the people of China established. First time, like independent state of Republic of China.
Okay.
In the history, for centuries, China has been living, as a slave.
Right. Right.
As a dependent for other countries, not independent.
Right.
As a subject for the other empire.
Right.
Like Mongol Empire.
Right.
Then the Manchu Empire.
Right.
Before Mongol empires, they used to be the subject of the Turkic Empire.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's why they built such a famous, Great Wall. Otherwise, why they supposed to build such a, thousands of kilometer long, and the Great Wall to protect themselves from us. So that is the official, that's the official boundary of China with us.
Right.
China, cannot deny that.
Right.
The
Wall is
the boundary
between China and your land.
To my land.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So after that, what happened then? But the Republic of China, the leaders of Republic of China, telling us that we just became independent. We are brothers. They claim that you're brothers
at that time.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
We went through all types of the hardship. As a subject of the Manchu Empire, why don't we just work together a little bit, until we just come to the point that we can rule ourselves, okay? Otherwise, it's because of the vulnerability, there may be somebody who's going to come again and took our freedom and independence from us, and it's just trying to pacify us, okay? But we still insisting that no. If you are ready, and you regain your independence. If you are independent, but we have to regain our independence because we have been living as independent states for centuries. Until we fell under the rule of Manchu Empire. Just 50 years ago, at that time, just 100 years. Chinese lived under the rule of Manchu Empire is much longer than the people of East Turkestan. Okay, the date that the people of East Turkestan fell under the rule of China was like 1760s. Okay, almost like 100 years later. 100 years later, of the China fell under the rule of the China, but still they don't want that. They don't want the give up us, the Republic of China. They say that, well, we will do that You have to wait, give us some time,
Okay.
and let's just, assemble like a national congress, and we will decide that we will think about this.
Okay.
Anyway, this types of an excuse.
Okay. And how long did that go on?
That excuse just prolonged, lasted until the East Turkestan fell under the rule of Communist China. That escalates. That types of, the claim, the debate escalated since 1940, since 1912, ever since the establishment of the Republic of China under the rule of Sun Yat-sen, until the Sun Yat-sen's government, the nationalist China, was defeated by the Communist China.
Okay.
And the leader of the the Republic of China fled to Taiwan.
Okay.
Taiwan. That's how the Taiwanese government established. As soon as he fled to Taiwan, and they claimed that he was the legitimate, the leader of the whole China, even though he was defeated by Communist China.
Right. Okay.
But they worked together. Communist China and the Republic of China, they joined their force.
Okay.
Against whom? Against the Japanese invasion. Towards the end of in 1930s.
Right.
Okay, there's a Japan invaded the Manchuria.
Right.
Okay, it's part of China. Okay,
right.
As a part of World War II.
Right.
During that time, Communist China and the nationalist China, they joined their force.
Okay.
The Communist China took a power. Communist China, the party of communism, that started in 1922, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, the chairman Mao, and then they just came to a power once they defeated the Japanese invasion. Once they defeat Japan, and Sun Yat-sen, the leader of the Republic of China, fled to Taiwan, claiming that I am the real authentic leader of all China, even though he was defeated. He was just take a refuge in Taiwan. And that, in reality, Communist China is the one who won all of the game. During this time, since 1912 up to 1949, people of East Turkestan did not accept the Chinese, excuse. We constantly fighting. There was a constant revolution in the different parts of the East Turkestan. Against what? Against the Chinese rule of East Turkestan. As a result, we established the Republic of East Turkestan twice. First time in 1933, in November 12. November 12, 1933, in Kashgar, we established the Islamic Republic of East Turkestan. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. It was crushed by the joint force of the regional governor like Sheng Shisei, one Chinese general. Or in generally speaking, with the joint force of Chiang Kai-shek's representative. Chiang Kai-shek was Chiang Kai-shek or the Sun Yat-sen, the follower of Sun Yat-sen. Whoever is ruling that region, incorporated with the central government, with the support of Soviet Union, with the support of Russia. So they defeated the new government. They defeat after several months. It just lasts about 6 months. It was defeated.
And the second time?
Second time we defeated. How it was defeated? Russia came with the tank, with airplane, and crushed that independence movement by just bombing hundreds of thousands of the people of East Turkestan. So the Russian people and the Russian government at that time, it was like Soviet Union, okay,
Right.
helped China to crush the independence movement of East Turkestan.
Okay.
Okay, and again, 10 years later, and we set up the Republic of East Turkestan again. At this time, in the northern part of East Turkestan. First time it was southern part.
Right.
The other side, like 200-300 kilometers from the Afghanistan.
Okay.
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 What happened?
That's where the Kashgar,
Right.
that ancient city, is located.
Right.
It was established in the Kashgar. And second time, it was established in the northern part of East Turkestan.
Okay.
Okay. At that, and it lasted about 4 or 5 years until it was the East Turkestan was taken over by communist China.
Okay. So let me just so everyone is clear. Yeah, I understand the history. I know.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can
exactly. This is the problem. This is the problem. Everybody thinks, why I took my time.
Right.
To introduce my country, introduce the people of my country.
I think
because this is lacking.
Right.
This is the lacking. The people are failing to understand the identity, where East Turkestan is, who the people of Uyghur are.
Right.
What they calling us like a Chinese Muslim.
Right.
Chinese Muslim. And we started everything like today. You also try to, come up with this idea, Chinese Muslim.
Right.
I'm totally against that. Yes.
Right.
At least we have to start something else. And we say that, how about Chinese Uyghur Muslim? And they say, oh, okay.
So in other words, in order to understand the history, it's very, in order to understand the conflict and what's happening there and why it's happening there, it's very important to understand the historical events that led to the current state.
Exactly.
If you don't understand those things, then you won't understand why it's happening.
Exactly.
So that's what he's saying. That's why he had to go in very deep discussion on the history of why what's happening and how it came to be that is now.
This is an excellent point. Thank you, Brother MS.
And I wanted to make just so everyone is clear. So from what and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
So the reason why he is saying that the Chinese government is targeting their community in particular, despite the fact that there are Muslims there are general Muslims even from among Chinese in other parts of China, they're not being impacted in this way or harmed in this way. The reason he is saying is because they are historically a different, ethnically different people.
Yeah.
And they have ownership, they have history over their land, and the Chinese government is scared and afraid that these people will take their land away from them because historically it is their land.
Exactly. And it's very rich.
Right. So this is why the Chinese government is so forcefully trying to have this identity erasure in their area and trying to basically eradicate them and trying to include them and re-educate them and make them feel like Chinese and stuff like that. So they don't identify with their ethnic Turkish roots and with their ethnic Turkish roots, and thereby call to their own independence. So that's what he's saying.
Exactly.
That's why they're targeting them, and they're just using religion as a way as a weapon because it's an emotional weapon. They want to hurt the feelings of the Uyghur Muslims. I'm assuming that's why they're using it as a weapon.
Also, our religion, for example, like Islam, is our everything.
Right.
This is our weapon in terms of living as a human being.
Right.
In terms of protecting ourselves.
Right.
From any types of harm,
right?
From any types of destruction, especially from the Chinese evil, evil intention to eradicate us, to eliminate us from our own land, East Turkestan.
Okay, so that's the key.
Exactly.
So that's the key thing to remember, that it is their land, and they're basically the Chinese government is after their land, and that's why they're being targeted because they're afraid that they will eventually want their independence or call for their independence.
Exactly. Exactly. So the Chinese people are so afraid
because they're ethnically different than the general Chinese population. Okay, so
sure.
I guess I think we said that in the bio as well. So do you have any family there? If so, have you have any contact with them?
Of course. The people what I have, the only family members I have, my own direct family members.
Right.
My 4 children who are born in this country.
Right.
And my wife. And my brother and sisters. We are living here.
Right.
And my one brother and one sister just able to escape from from East Turkestan.
Right.
Ever since Chinese, you know, I mean, start that, I mean, speed up their assimilation campaign.
Right.
In a couple of years ago, they were able to escape. So as a result, I and my two sisters and the one brother are in the United States.
Right.
But I have two sisters at home.
Right.
And their family.
Right.
Still in East Turkestan. And I have about more than 100 relatives. My aunts, from my aunt, an aunt,
right.
my uncle, okay, nephews, cousins. I have more than 100 family members, relatives in East Turkestan. Mostly, they live in the southern part of East Turkestan, in Tarim Basin area, in Kashgar area.
Okay.
And my wife's side also, you know, my wife's has also, she has relatives more than 100.
Right.
Everybody is in East Turkestan.
Have you had any contact with them?
No, for 2 years right now, no contact. No contact at all. In May, for example,
right.
My mother-in-law passed away.
Right.
Even we cannot talk on the phone. Even my wife, you know, cannot say assalamu alaikum to her sisters, to the relatives who attend the funeral at that time. Her sister was just sneaked outside, you know, called my wife,
right?
You know,
yeah,
by just arranging of, you know, that like a phone service for her,
right?
And somebody just initiate that. And at least they want, at least my wife can say something, you know, before her mother is just sent to the cemetery for burial procedure. But it was so impossible, so, you know, I mean, horrible for the sister, okay? Even she said that, I can only talk my sister if she doesn't say anything, you know, like in religious, if she doesn't say anything, she should not say assalamu alaikum to me. And we got the message. And then my wife said that, okay, she reluctantly accept that.
How would they find out? Do they have spies there or something?
Oh, everybody's spy.
Okay.
Thousands of people, even millions of people listen to our conversations, you know?
Right.
I mean, they provided this types of job.
Right.
In East Turkestan, whole East Turkestan became a dungeon for us. Dungeon for us, not the people in concentration camp.
Right.
Nazi or Hitler-style concentration camp.
Right.
Not only the people who are in jail.
Right.
Okay, in the real jail.
Right.
But generally speaking, for the 40 million East Turkestani people, our land, Sharqi Turkestan, as the size of Saudi Arabia, for example, like 2 million square kilometers, or 2.5 the size of the Republic of Turkey, okay, became a dungeon for us. Dungeon for us. This is the example. For 2 years right now, there's no contact at all. We tried many times, but it's impossible to reach anybody.
Right.
Everybody's so scared. Everybody's so scared that once if they pick up the phone, okay, to communicate us, their life is going to be in jeopardy. So they're going to be persecuted.
Right.
They're going to be persecuted.
So Chinese government has professional people who listen to the conversations of East Turkestan people, their people, and they have special jobs for this in the market that people apply for from among the Chinese who can go and work for at these phone banks and hear the conversations.
Maybe there's a campaign by the central government that by giving the incentive for the Chinese people that whoever gets this types of job, that there's a big, you know, incentive, rewards. This is one of the things, you know. As a result, many people, hundreds of thousands of people can get employed by a spying job.
Wow.
Spying job.
Wow. So that's terrible.
Majority of the
so they can't even have private conversations over their phone because they're constantly tapped, basically.
constituted type.
Right.
In addition to that, whole region, Turkic Turkestan or East Turkestan, is watched.
Right. It's like a prison, basically.
It's like prison.
Like, right.
There's camera everywhere. There's a camera.
Right.
There's a camera. Like each East Turkestani, at least 4 or 5 cameras is just looking at the East Turkestanis.
Interesting.
In whole East Turkestan.
Yeah.
Okay. So every corner, every market, every school, every masjid, okay, every institution, every place, every road, every highway,
right,
there's a camera. And you can see that from the the media as well,
right,
about how that credible media like New York Times, Washington Post,
right,
that other people, credible journalists are trying to inform
right,
the international community about this what's happening.
Exactly.
But the horrible thing is that the journalists from the free world not allowed to go in Turkestan,
right,
but by just openly claiming that I'm a journalist.
Right.
I'm a journalist, from United States or Great Britain or Australia,
right,
or Republic of Turkey. It's impossible for them. So then how did they go there? How can they go there? Just claiming themselves as, some anthropologist, I'm a tourist, somebody,
right,
and among the hundreds of journalists who try to go to East Turkestan,
but they
to get some,
right,
the truth,
right,
the information.
Right.
Very few of them were able to sneak into our region, and even they are successfully, sneak into East Turkestan. It's no way for them to meet with the people of East Turkestan, to interview with them,
because they're scared.
They're scared. Chinese people not allow them.
Right.
With the camera, they just, as soon as they know that the foreigners there, that foreign journalists there,
right,
they figure out.
Right. And I think on our page,
they stopped them.
On our Facebook page, we actually shared a video from BBC. One of their reporters went there, and he was constantly being followed and harassed. And you can view that on our Facebook page. We have the video. So he's right. When journalists go there and they find out they're constantly harassed, they're constantly followed, and they don't let them do their stories properly. And it's very, uneasy to even think about.
Exactly. I am so proud of the some of the journalists.
Yes.
Would they heroically conducting their job, regardless how hard it is.
Right.
Still, they try to get some, that footage,
right,
something from that region, something from region. So I don't have to talk about that.
Right.
Everybody can just Google it,
right,
and then from any segment of social media, from Facebook or YouTube,
right,
or Instagram, or whatever you call it, just type it, and lots of information about that. So in generally speaking, so whole region is Turkestan became a dungeon.
right,
Okay. The entire nation, 40 million East Turkestani Muslim people are the subject. Okay, that the inmate in our homeland.
right,
And this is the best example. I don't have any contact.
right,
I don't have any contact with my more than 200, the relatives from my, my father's side, my mother's side, many aunts, many uncles, many nephews. Okay,
right,
and I mean cousins, and no contact at all. So I don't know if they are alive or dead, if they are in the prison or in the concentration camp, or whatever the Chinese call it. But China has been keep changing the name of the camps. They used to call it first of all they denied that there's no camp exists in our region, East Turkestan.
right.
First of all, as soon as that the UN intervened, okay, by telling the world that at least 1 million people of East Turkestan, the native people of East Turkestan, including Uyghur and the Kazakhs and the Kyrgyz, they are in concentration camp, and China reacted, okay, by denying the truth that is not true.
Right.
You know, that by it is just re-education.
Right.
I mean, re-education center or something like that.
Right.
Even though the situation is not different, you know, not much different from the Nazi-style concentration camp in terms of how the people are just kept in such an isolated internment camp.
Exactly.
Okay, just in this internment camp, the situation are unimaginable, horrible. Okay, as you can see from that picture, what you put on that flyer, right?
Right. Exactly.
At least more than 2,000 people.
Right.
That image shows more than 2,000 people.
Right.
From one region of East Turkestan. Which region? Khotan region. Which is located in the southern part of East Turkestan, or Janubi Sharqi Turkestan. In Khotan region, at least in one prison itself, more than 2,000 people.
Okay.
Guarded by, the hundreds of, Chinese police.
You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
And you can view the flyer again if you just get an image of what the picture was. But it's on our website.
Even though the UN say that, just recently, acknowledged that, at least as a conservative estimate, 1 million people in the Nazi-style internment camp.
Right.
At this time right now, we estimate that at least 3 million, at least 3 million, or up to 5 million people in the Nazi-style internment camp or concentration camp in these days.
Right.
And they are facing all types of horrible, catastrophic, the life. They are not allowed to talk. They are not allowed to sit. They cannot eat whatever they want to eat. Of course, no prisoner can eat whatever they want to eat. But the food that the government of China has provides that's very limited, very little, and also the quality of the food is horrible. It is not enough. We are afraid that they are forcing, the government of China is forcing them to eat non-halal food.
Like pork and stuff.
Pork, exactly. That's what we keep hearing.
Yeah.
The pork, they're forcing them to eat pork. There's no way for them to not to eat pork to survive. We don't have hard evidence about that, what exactly they are eating. But nobody has the evidence right now, because nobody is allowed to, investigate this horrible, unspeakable tragedy. But based on the Chinese propaganda, because all of the Islamic aspect of our life is under attack, being destroyed. Not only that, the assalamu alaikum, the word assalamu alaikum, or peace be upon you, as a response, wa alaikum assalam, peace be upon to you, is prohibited. But every aspect of Islamic life Islamic daily life has been prohibited. For example, giving the Islamic name, Muhammad, Ibrahim, Ismail, Anwar.
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Has to be Chinese
Aisha,
names.
Fatima, any types of Islamic name is just prohibited. Given in the masjid, at the front gate of the masjid, in the wall of the masjid. Okay, any Islamic letter or literature, art is just sometimes written on the wall,
calligraphy and stuff.
Calligraphy, exactly. In the Mahrab section, especially, everything was just destroyed, taken away right now. Look at the thousands of masjid in East Turkestan. Nothing left. All of the masjids are locked with a big lock, with the big communist red flag is displayed at the gate of this masjid. Very, very few elderly people may be able to pray over there. I don't know. We don't know what's really happening over there. And that each masjid, has a minaret, right?
Right.
to column, to tom, you know, we call it azan, right?
Right.
And each masjid has what? At the top of the masjid, Peter Mazin go call for namaz, for prayer, right?
Right.
At that, you know, at the edge of the masjid, there's a moon and crescent at the top of the minaret, right? Top of the minaret, right? All of the moon and the crescent was destroyed and taken away. They think that this is a symbol of Islam. Even though, you know, we also don't have the evidence that this the moon and the crescent must be or has been the symbol of Islam. There's not such a thing, but that's what they think, because all Islamic world, you know, starting from, you know, Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia, everywhere, every masjid has that. Right. But China is scaring, just scaring too much about the every aspect of Islam. So growing beard. It's prohibited. Of course, long time ago, growing beard. Wearing hijab for the woman is prohibited. I say, Assalamu alaikum, prohibited. Not smoking is a crime. If somebody doesn't smoke, that's not welcomed. They're not welcome. Not welcome. If somebody doesn't use alcohol, is not welcome. That's also considered to be one of the elements of the Muslim characteristics of that individual. So once they are put in jail on concentration camp, or they have been calling lately as a vocational center. Okay. And they have been just classifying the people, the people in the internment camp, based on their background, based on their background, like up to maybe 7 generation, you know, by just identifying them, they belong to which generation, okay, and what their parents did, and the grandparents did, you know, what is their history in terms of the position they took in the history, in terms of, you know, how loyal the parents are to the Chinese ruler or to the Communist Party. If they conduct the 5 pillar of Islam on time and seriously, if they do, that's the biggest, you know, the target. That's the biggest one. If somebody prays 5 times a day, they identify that. If identify that, they prove that by family members, by a neighbor. You know, they can ask that. How long they have this guy's been praying, you know? And if they have to tell that, you know, this, my parents, my father, you know, have been praying. You know,
so the more religiously observant the person is, the more harsher the punishment.
Exactly. And that if they keep their religious identity, okay, in terms of how they look, okay, and that is the biggest target. That individual is biggest target. That individual get the biggest punishment, classified as the you know, like must be treated especially. In this case, what does that mean? China, the government of China, the government of Communist China has been shamelessly telling that the religion, especially the religion of the people of East Turkestan, that Islam, what we have been practicing, is like ideological illness, which must be eradicated, which must be cured. In order to do that, the people must be educated, must be indoctrinated, must be quarantined. You know how if somebody has like infected by a contagious disease, what's going to happen? We have to quarantine that person, right? Isolate that person, right? That's exactly what's happening. That's what they've been claiming. Shamelessly claiming that something's wrong with these people.
Right. So you actually, on our page as well, we've shared the story, but some journalists have written about this topic, about how the Chinese government is treating Islam as a mental illness in that part of, in that region. So you can Google it. You can find the story online. So just for your information, for more sources and information on that topic.
Since the 9/11 event, in the terroristic event in the United States,
right?
Okay, China has been trying to get advantage of this the campaign led by United States, like international campaign against global terrorism,
right?
Right? China is trying to get advantage of this campaign as much as they can. Claiming themselves that we are the victim, not only the United States,
right?
Okay, but also we the people of China, also the victim of the global terrorism.
So they're using that idea
exactly
to target
more.
Okay.
And, but they never raised this issue before.
Right.
They never raised this issue. Always they try to hide the fact of the history. History of East Turkestan, they always hide it.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have any problem. We have such a harmonic relationship with the Uyghur people. We don't have a problem until that time. Ever since 9/11 happened, ever since United Nations,
right?
United States, with the support of United Nations, just started the international campaign against global terrorism. China has just jumped to the stage that we are the victim. We need help. You know what happened? Even the United States, unfortunately, to our disappointment, okay, I mean, accept the Chinese condition, accept the Chinese demand. What is the Chinese condition, for example?
Right.
In order for the United States to successfully launch their campaign against global terrorism, U.S. needs the support of most major the countries, especially from China.
Right.
China, as you know, this is one of the 5 of the member has the veto power.
Right.
Permanent members of United Nations.
Right.
Right. United States needs help, needs the support of China. Okay, especially to like, for example, to attack Iraq.
Right.
For example, to dismantle the Saddam Hussein.
Right.
Okay. China took this opportunity. China took this golden opportunity and used it, for its own advantage. How did it do it? How did the China did it? Just welcome this China, U.S. Demand. Okay. Yes, we are going to accept that. We are going to support you, but you must support us against the terrorists who happen, involving terrorist activity in our land. And who they are? They say that here, Uyghur people. Who claim themselves as a people of East Turkestan. They just show them just a couple of the incidents, and they got the support of United States. In this case, United States opened a green light to China. This happened, unfortunately, under the administration of George W. Bush. Ever since then, China has been just trying his best.
So what do you think?
Trying to punish as much as people of East Turkestan.
Why do you think it recently
blaming us as a terrorist, extremist, and the separatist? The China has been using three terms.
Right.
Okay, one is terrorist.
Right.
They have been using this term, as I just mentioned to you, ever since the 9/11, and also in addition to that, in addition to the terrorist, they have been using the extremist, and the separatist.
Okay.
We don't accept none of those claims. On the contradictory, okay, China, the communist China, itself as #1 terrorist in the world. Nothing else. Communist China as #1 terrorist. Not only communist China has been just trying to, destroy everything, whatever we have.
Right.
All of the rights, all of the human rights given by Allah, given by God. Okay, not by the United Nations.
Right.
United Nations, fortunately, realized that, adopted that, came to this decision that we must try to protect the basic human rights.
Right.
That happened just 1948 or something like that, right?
Right.
Exactly about 70 years ago. And the rights of every human being given by whom? By Allah.
Right.
Okay? So in this case, China has been just trying to, to kill, destroy every aspect of the people of East Turkestan.
Why?
And today, what's happening right now?
Right.
What's happening right now? Why many people never heard anything about the what's happening in East Turkestan.
Right.
But right now, since last year, especially just 4 months ago, when the United Nations, tell the world that this is something horrible is going on.
Why do you think now it's coming out? Why do you think it took so long? I mean, why now all of a sudden even the Western media is covering it constantly and pointing fingers at China? So why now?
Because China has been doing that assimilation policy,
right?
Always trying to apply an assimilation policy towards us, but it was punishing us by just excluding themselves. We have to do this. For example, they have been applying birth control policy against the will of the people of East Turkestan, against the will of the Muslim people of East Turkestan. That started at the beginning of the 1980s. This almost 40 years right now. The Chinese government's applying birth control policy.
Birth control policy.
Exactly. Okay. What is the birth control policy? That people of East Turkestan are not allowed to have more than 2 children. Then what's going to happen if somebody has more than one children? If one mother gets pregnant, that pregnant woman must be aborted. Even at the last stage, that woman's supposed to give a birth like today. If the Chinese government realized that, the baby must be aborted and killed. If the baby is born alive, must be suffocated.
This is official policy, right?
Official policy. This is the official
just
policy.
For your region.
For our region. But also that they have been applying the birth control policy to the Chinese people themselves.
Right.
At the same time. Okay. During the time of the Chairman Mao, about more than 40 years ago, the Chairman Mao encouraged the Chinese citizens to have more than 1 kid. As much as you can, that's perfectly fine. Okay. More manpower is the power of China.
Right.
After the reform, after the death of Chairman Mao, the situation in East Turkestan has been changed. China opened the door to the world, and they adopted birth control policy themselves. Restricting every Chinese citizen, every Han Chinese citizen is not having more than 1 child. And it is also like a horrible thing for them. I am sorry for the Chinese people who wants to have more than 1 child, but they're not allowed to because they are human beings too. Okay, but whatever they do, they're their own decision.
Right.
But they should not apply any birth control policy to us. Because we are not Chinese. Okay? We are the owner of that land. Right. Our region was occupied region. And we are entirely different from the Chinese.
Okay.
The people of East Turkestan is entirely different from the Han Chinese. Look at me. Am I look like Chinese?
No, actually you don't.
Even I say that I'm from China.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes we have to, travel. Like especially whenever we when we have to pass that the passport control, right, at immigration, right?
Yeah.
And in the past, right now, fortunately, I'm not carrying a Chinese passport ever since I became U.S. citizen a long time ago, for more than 20 years. Okay, I became U.S. citizen in 1998. Before that, before I became U.S. citizen, especially when I came to the United States, I have to carry the Chinese passport. And I was just pulled over by the immigration officials, just asking questions. Kind of like an interrogation style sometimes. They believe that I'm just lying to them, How come? Look at me, look at the Chinese passport, Chinese red passport, and looking at me, and they say, are you from China? Yes, sir. And I just say that, yes, sir, to get his reaction.
Right.
And say, no way. How come, you can be Chinese? You don't look like Chinese.
Right.
And I took this opportunity, to educate that officer. Yes, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I'm not Chinese. This is the reason why I arrived today to this land, to educate not only you, to educate millions of people, American people, millions of international community, to tell them that I am not the Chinese, even though this passport is given to us.
Okay.
I was lucky enough at that time. At least we were able to travel, like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, ever since China opened their door, not everybody is lucky enough to get the passport to travel.
Right.
For many restrictions, okay, they are not allowed. That the getting a passport, to get issued a passport is a big issue, okay? But in these days, but it was possible, okay? You have to spend lots of money. You have to, bribe many government officials, okay, to get your passport at that time. But it's possible. In these days, it's impossible. Before China put the millions of innocent East Turkistanis into the internment camp, or the so-called re-education camp, or so-called vocational training center.
Right.
Okay. It was possible. It was still possible. But as soon as the China, just expedite or speed up it is, or assimilating, that campaign.
Right.
What they did is just confiscate everybody's passport in East Turkestan. It's not enough.
Right.
Telling the people who are holding the passport to bring any relatives, any family members who are still in the foreign countries, to come back. If they resist, they get punished. Their punishment is increased. For example, as a result, many families, many families told their family members in abroad. Many families told their children to come back, to go back to East Turkestan. And some of the families, some of the children, some of the, their relatives did go back. As soon as they go back, they ended up in the same internment camp. Again, we have a, like a very well-funded, proof about those types of incidents all the time. So basically, whole East Turkestani people are the victim of genocide in these days. If we are not the victim of physical genocide, like physical Nazi-style genocide, conducted against the Jews, during the World War II, but we are the victim of cultural genocide. Cultural genocide. And this types of genocide is worse than the physical genocide for us. In my opinion, if we have two choice, if the people of East Turkestan has a two choice, you have only two choice. If the Chinese government say us, choice number one, you want to keep choice number one. We are going to, keep your identity, whoever you are, but you are going through a slow pace of assimilation. Soon or later, you are going to assimilate into Chinese society. You are going to be Chinese. Okay? As a choice number one, option number one. Option number two, or we are going to just kill you in just instantly one day. In my opinion, I will say just kill me right now. Instead of applying that cultural genocide, which is lasting hours, weeks, months and years, you're still alive, going through these types of, harsh, unspeakable humiliation, okay? I rather to be executed, massacred right now. And this is the message I want to give to the international community.
Okay.
And this is what's happening right now. Many members of the Uyghur community in diaspora, in Uyghur community, is telling the world exactly the same thing. Telling the same thing, that just kill my family members, kill my wife, instead of just putting her into the internment camp, just torturing her, okay, by just applying all types of humiliation, okay? Just kill my wife, kill my mother, kill my children. It's better for me. And again, I would say the same thing.
Again, this story was also published. This issue has also been covered by some journalists. So again, you can Google the stories of people who escaped the Chinese government, and they left the country. They left East Turkestan, and they have said that they'd rather that their family members die because of the humiliation and the torture and the punishments that are given to their family members. So they would hope that the Chinese government would just kill them off. So again, you can find these stories online. So just go ahead and look it up on Google. You can find those stories. Now, I think because Maghreb is coming in, you had some pictures. I wanted to.
A picture can be actually. I have, if I have time, I have lots of pictures to be shown. But many of the pictures, what I want to show is available in the internet about the history of our country. Okay, about the current situation in our country, about the Chinese persecution against people of East Turkestan. Not only the pictures, also many video clips or news is available, fortunately, in every aspect of media, Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere. I want then anybody who wants to know more about what's really happening in our region, and there's lots of information, fortunately. And this time, thank you for your invitation.
Before we end, one last question. I think a lot of people wonder: what can outside people, the people who are here in America, who are not from that region, how can we help? What are something? Maybe if you can provide 3 or 4 things that we can do outside to help the cause, that will help take the persecution off, or can we talk to our government officials, put pressure?
Thank you.
What can we do?
Actually, this types of questions must be asked a long time ago. Not right now. But still, we are not late. Okay, and we are not late. Thank you very much for your thank you very much for your effort in terms of trying to address this issue. The issue, this horrible, unspeakably, the problem we have been going through in East Turkestan. As all of the Muslim people know, the pain of one Muslim individual is the pain of whole ummah. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
Also, isn't that correct that if you think that some types of injustice is happening, regardless what is the reason of the injustice, regardless of wherever this injustice is happening, by whom, against whom, okay? Whenever there's some injustice happening, not only injustice happening against Muslim people, but any unjust act is going on against anybody, any human being, even against any living things, against animal. What we have to do based on the Quran, based on the way of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to act, right?
Right.
We're supposed to take action to stop it.
Right.
If we cannot take action for any reason, what do we have to do? We have to say something.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We have to, express our resentment against that injustice.
Right.
Isn't that right?
Yes, absolutely.
If we cannot say anything, what we have to do? We have to express our disagreement. Okay? Our resentment by using any types of expression. Right? In worst case scenario.
Right.
Is this what's happening? Is this what's happening right now? For not only about the situation of East Turkestan,
right,
but about the horrible injustice, what's happening in Syria, in Iraq, Afghanistan, in the United States, Europe, anywhere. There's injustice things. That's what's happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening.
Right.
We are not acting based on what we are supposed to be acting, how we are supposed to be acting. We are not taking care of each other. Okay, we are not, following the Sunnah. Okay,
right.
What our Prophet,
yes,
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
yes,
has told us to do, what Allah told us to do.
Right.
But anyway. But even though it's late, still lots of things can be done.
Right.
Whole Muslim people, the entire Muslim people in the United States, who has the capacity to walk, to stand, we must stand up first. We must get together. We must educate ourselves about the situation in East Turkestan, in terms of how that the Chinese invader,
right,
how that evil communist Chinese regime has been destroying every aspect of the occupied East Turkestan, of the people of occupied East Turkestan. In order to do that, we can, in our family, for example, we have to talk about this.
Right.
And then we have to, in the community, we have to talk about this. And we have to bring this issue to the Islamic organization like ICNA.
Right.
Right? That the leaders of ICNA, for example, the board members of ICNA must come together.
Right.
This is like emergency. This is like a emergency situation right now, because aren't we the part of the Islamic world?
Right. Absolutely.
The size of the or the number of the people who are facing through these types of unspeakable injustice doesn't have to rise to 1,000, doesn't have to rise to 1 million, doesn't have to rise to 5 million.
Yep.
Why we don't act? We will wait until what time? Until everybody is just wiped out? Until every Muslim people of East Turkestan just totally massacred
right,
or assimilated into the Chinese and become an atheist, become a communist, and then we have to wake up? Then we have to do something about this?
Right.
If we don't do something right now, if we don't speak, when we are going to speak?
Right.
So at least forget about the other people, Muslim people around the world. Okay, of course they can do the same thing. The people of all Muslim countries, more than 50 Muslim countries, can do the same thing, like we are talking about right now. They can talk about this issue. They can educate themselves. They have to take action to stop the Chinese inhumane action against the people of East Turkestan.
Right.
Right? At least they can write a letter to their leaders. They're asking the leader, their leader, to do something, to speak up, you know, at the national level, to speak up at the United Nations. Okay. In addition to that, the Muslim people in the United States can write a letter to their congressman or congressman or woman, to the senators, okay, in their own jurisdiction, can write a letter asking them to do something,
to put pressure or sanctions on China or something.
Exactly, to stop the Chinese inhumane act against the people of East Turkestan.
Okay.
Even these days, I mean that the non-Muslim people are trying to do something for the plight of Eastern Turkestani people. They cannot stand without doing anything, as you can hear. You know, just some members of the Congress, some senators, okay, like Senator Marco Rubio, okay, Christopher Smith, Dana Rohraberger, you know, the Vice President of the United States, you know, that many government officials are trying to do something for the sake of the people of East Turkestan. Why not the Muslim people? Why the Muslim people are so silent?
Okay.
This should not happen. This should not happen. And they're asking the same question. They're asking the same question. Why? Why? We are so surprised. Why the Muslim people say something to stop the Chinese atrocities in your country? Why the leaders of the Muslim nations, the leaders of the more than 50 Muslim countries say a word, doesn't say a word in their country or at United States against the Chinese inhumane act? They're asking us the same question. We are just speechless. I mean, of course, there's some reason for them, you know, maybe acceptable for them, and excuse on themselves. You know, we have a excellent relationship with People's Republic of China because of
some economic
benefit or some other types of national security or something like that. Whatever they say is unacceptable.
So basically, reach out to your congressmen, senators, and leaders, and tell them to speak out against the Chinese persecution of their people. And also, if you're not in the U.S., you're outside, and same thing, you can write the letter to your nation. So especially if you're in a Muslim country, you can ask your leaders to speak out against the Chinese government and of their inhumane act, and encourage them, if they're in the UN, encourage them to speak in the UN, to bring up the issue, to discuss it over and over again, to pressure the government of China.
Excellent idea.
And it has been reported that the Chinese government is under pressure. That's why they're trying to hide it, change their stories, you know, trying different tactics to make themselves look good. But we know from what he told us and from what we've been seeing in the news, it's not good. It's not healthy. And it's not, you know, it's not a vocational program. It's not education. It's torture. It's murder. It's execution. Okay. And it's basically, it's like he said, a cultural slaughter, okay, or a cultural, what's the word you used?
I mean, the cultural genocide. When I say cultural genocide, you know what? When China has been openly doing this, even though there's a measure to punish anybody who conduct or attempt to conduct like a real, physical genocide, it's an international crime, adopted by United Nations.
Right.
Unfortunately, the cultural genocide is not, adopted as a real crime based on my knowledge.
Right.
That's why China has been just openly, conducting a cultural genocide against people of East Turkestan. As I said, this cultural genocide is the worst.
Right.
As I said, because you know why? I just explained to you. I mean, just give us the freedom.
Right.
Let us to live as a real human being,
right,
with our belief system, by just practicing our religion as a human being. If you do, you don't, and don't just, torture us, by applying all types of inhumane act,
okay,
all type of inhumane act. And I cannot I cannot tell everything what's happening in my region, and just I would like everybody go ahead and then just Google it in these days in your own language. You will see lots of evidence what's happening in East Turkestan. Another thing, what I have to tell that international community, including the journalists, okay, we are not Chinese Muslim, and we don't want anybody to confuse us with the Chinese Muslim. Chinese Muslims are the different than us. Yes, there's some Chinese Muslim, you know, that as the size of the Chinese Muslim can be as much as the size of the East Turkestani Muslim people, but they don't live in our region. Maybe some very few people, Dungan or Hui people, okay, we call them as like Chinese Muslim, they live in my country, okay, we call them Tungan, Dungan, okay, they call them themselves as a Huizu in Chinese, okay, they live in their own region, like Gansu, Ningxia, especially Ningxia, it's like one of the autonomous region, okay, officially the number of the Hui people are about like 12 million, that's what China said. It might be, you know, more than that, based on the statistics.
Are they targeted as well or no?
No, they are not targeted. No Hui people, no Han Chinese people in the concentration or internment camp.
So it's just
they're not locked up.
So
they're just Chinese. Okay, because they speak Chinese, they write in Chinese script, but they are Muslim.
Ethnically, they're Chinese.
For 1,000 years they have been practicing Islam. Alhamdulillah, they've been practicing Islam.
But ethnically, they're Chinese.
Ethnically Chinese. In the history, you know, based on the historical, you know, evidence, you know, ever since the rise of Islam, okay, many people in the form of trade businessmen, a businessman reached up to China, past the Great Wall of China, you know, by doing trade. You know, especially as a part of the, you know, the Silk Road, people of Silk Road, okay, and that started about 1,000 years ago. Okay, they intermarried with the Han Chinese. Okay, then the offspring of the people who came from this, you know, the Arab descent, and the Chinese mother is called, you know, Hui people, or we call Dungan, based on my, you know, knowledge. That's how they came from. The number of the Hui people, based on the Chinese statistics in 1912, I think about 12 million. It can be more than, it can be at least 20 million in these days. So we don't want anybody to confuse us with the Han Chinese. I mean, with the Dungan people, with the Huizu people, because they don't have any problem with the government of China. Even though they are not freely expressing themselves, of course, they have also, they are restricted in terms of practicing their religion. Okay, they are not openly advocating the Islam. They are not openly just giving khutbah based on the authentic, you know, the hadith, what Allah said in the Quran, how they're supposed to act, you know, how they're supposed to practice religion. They cannot openly say anything. They are also under the restriction. But comparing the people of the Hui people or Dungan people to the people of East Turkestan, the difference is, you know, like a ground and the sky. Okay.
As far as
unfortunately, the international community have been decepted. You know, that cheated. Okay, pacified. By communist China. By communist China, because communist China has been showing that the Hui people, the Dungan people, the situation of the Dungan people, the masjid of the Dungan people, in terms of how they just enjoy their daily life as a Muslim to the international community. This is the life of the Chinese Muslim, and many people, many people, you know, especially the journalists also deceived by the Chinese propaganda. Okay, so we don't want to be confused by They're the Hui people. We are totally different. We are Turkic people of East Turkestan.
Okay. So I think I hope inshallah that was
one more thing. What we can do about the situation to try to attempt to stop the Chinese atrocity. Everything's in the hand of Allah. This doesn't mean that I cannot tell everybody just do everything so that we can stop everything today or tomorrow. But we must do anything what we can do. Isn't this the requirement by Allah? We do as much as we can. How much we can do right now? We can. Every Muslim people who has the capacity, who can walk and travel, come to the Washington D.C. So that we will, conduct a demonstration, organize a big mass demonstration under the leadership such a beautiful Muslim organization like ICNA. Cannot we do this, brother?
Yeah, inshallah, definitely.
We can do that. We can do that, right?
Yes,
we can do that.
Absolutely.
We can. If every year we have been conducting what? Like big mass conference in Baltimore, in the conference center, right? In Chicago. We are doing this for years, right? This time we did that 42nd or 43rd of, big ICNA convention, right? Each time, how many Muslim people come? At least 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people come from all over the United States, right? To learn something, right? To learn something about Islam, right? From each other, right? To do something, for the sake of the oppressed people. By standing with the justice, right?
Yes.
And let's continue to do this by supporting the people of East Turkestan against the Chinese atrocities.
Okay, inshallah. So I hope that that message is clear. So it's gone really long now. It's about an hour and a half.
And this message can be not only the people of the Muslim people of United States of Canada, but my message must work for the same purpose for every Muslim people in the world. Okay, the whole international community must wake up. If they are not, they are sleeping. If they are sleeping, if they wake up, must stand up. If they are stand up, then must run towards where? Against the Chinese inhumane act. Against the Chinese oppression, against the Chinese persecution of the people of East Turkestan.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair for Brother Anwar for coming.
Thank you.
I know it went a little long. We usually do it only for an hour, but inshallah, so we apologize for that.
Maybe we'll continue to in the future.
Inshallah, we can have more series on it. Definitely.
We have such a long story, and my story is the story of the 40 million unfortunate, miserable people.
Absolutely.
Okay, just 1 hour is not enough. We should continue at least maybe once a week. Not only for the sake of speaking or the educating, but on concentrating that what can be done and the when and the how, so that this atrocity must be stopped.
We're missing
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So okay. So inshallah, thank you for joining us. Inshallah. So again, we do once a month. We do a webinar, and we invite various speakers from different backgrounds and different works around justice that they're doing. So we encourage you all to please watch it and share it with others and let people know so everyone becomes aware. And thank you again for joining ICNA Council for Social Justice. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.